Hot.
Yeah, it's a little warm.
Last week you were sweating. Last week I was sleeping, I think we're gonna get Bob in here. We got about a minute.
What number you want, Pastor?
4.
4.
School chancellor just walked over.
Harvest
You see
Radio,
school chancellor?
WKMB.
I think that was him just walking. I think that was.
It's time now for the Town Talker with Reverend Zechariah A. Jackson. Reverend Jackson is founding pastor of the Church of What's Happening Now, located in Plainfield, New Jersey. And now, the Town Talker, Reverend Zechariah Jackson.
Always good coming to you. This is the American Reverend Zechariah A. Jackson from the Church of What's Happening Now, Town Talker Talk Show. Well, they say we're going to have 50-degree weather Sunday, so that should be a good thing, getting us ready for the spring. We didn't have a good, large amount of snow, but it just been agitating. You know what I mean? We didn't have those snowstorms of '96, but you know what I mean. They just kept, sprinkling and sprinkling every other day, and threatening us with great storms. So we pray that that's all behind us. One more month out of spring. I guess they have spring coming. I think the 20th, 21st, and I normally calculate it coming around April 6th. So that's just the Reverend calculation, no one else. But today I have an interesting show. We're going to be talking about mortgages and who should buy a house. And, with the way the market is going today, you can see houses that 4 years ago or 3 years ago that was on the market for $300,000-400,000. Now they're down to $150 or 200 or whatever, So I got two gentlemen that's here with me, and you guys can introduce yourselves. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Davis Charles with ERA Realty.
And I'm Terry Cooper with Jersey Mortgage Company.
Okay. All right, go ahead again, Terry.
I'm Terry Cooper with Jersey Mortgage Company.
All right, so today with the way the rates of the house and fell and everything, you would think that maybe we wondered who can buy a house today. And I guess I'll direct that question to you, Terry, since you're in the mortgage.
Sure. There are so many persons that can really purchase a home today. There's really no better time. It sounds almost cliche-ish, but it's really the truth. The federal government has gotten on board because the housing market is so central to our economy. There's been so much money put into it just to make sure that it succeeds. Your states have so many states in the union have gotten involved, and you also have on a smaller local level counties and even towns that have gotten involved to help persons buy for the first time, or even persons who have purchased before, they have an opportunity to buy again.
Now, we were talking earlier about this first-time home owners thing. Can you explain how that works?
Sure. The federal government has, in an effort to stimulate the housing market and generate more sales, what they've done is they've offered a first-time home buyer, and a first-time home buyer is defined as anyone that has not owned real estate within the last 3 years. So if a person owned in the past and they sold and now they've rented for the last 3 years, they are considered a first-time home buyer.
Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you this right here. Again, I go to you, Terry. How can, I don't want to downplay anybody, but just say someone that has a job a little or a bit more over 25, 30% over minimum wage. So they're making like $11, $12 an hour. But we see where their rent today is, $900-$1,100 or more, time they pay their PSNG bill and everything, and not criticize the PSNG, but just the fact of the bill. Let me ask you, how can they get a house? Someone that, because you got some people that can't even fathom that. And not that they're not paying what a mortgage would cost on a $120,000 or $150,000 house over the years, you know what I mean? That I believe that they could afford. What do you think?
It's very possible, and there are several programs that help make it possible. Because again, all the efforts, time, and energy that the federal government has, and the monies that they've contributed, they're doing it so that this initiative succeeds. And so on several levels, you have things that have been put in place. Like,
Sure.
Again, that tax credit, the $8,000 for first-time home buyer, that they will get this year. If they buy a house, they will get $8,000 this year.
Whether they've done any taxes or not, they still would get it.
They still will get the $8,000. Now, through the state of New Jersey and several other states, they are offering the first-time home buyer an advance of $5,000 on the $8,000 that they're going to get from the federal government.
Wow.
So that $5,000 can be used to cover the cost of getting a mortgage or their down payment.
Wow.
In addition to that, the state is also offering them an additional 4% of their loan amount. So in most cases, the first-time home buyer can purchase with, in most cases, probably less than $1,000 out of their pocket.
Wow. And what okay, in terms of what would be the rate of the house that they could be comfortable in?
Right. See, affordability is key because, again, we're trying to learn from the mistakes of the past.
Sure.
What are some of the things that contributed to foreclosures? So now the focus is on affordability.
Okay.
We want to make sure that they can afford what they're buying. And then, as an example, I would work with a reputable realtor like Mr. Davis Charles here of ERA Reed Realty.
Sure.
And we would make sure that the type of property that they get, perhaps if their income is a little lower, it may be good for them to get a multi-family property where they can get some assistance with the rental income.
Sure.
And that does two things. It makes it more affordable for them, and it allows them to save.
Sure, and that's right there's a good point. All right, Dave, what's happening in the market? I mean, you're out here actually selling the houses.
I do.
And what's going on? Are you?
Well, this is an excellent time for home ownership. The rents right now, you would imagine in most township, 1-bedroom house would be renting anywhere from like $700.
Sure.
Then it goes up to maybe 2 bedrooms at $900 to $1,100 and that sort of thing. And for that amount of money, an individual should be able to own a house right now because of how the prices are down.
Okay.
So why rent when you can own?
Okay, so how do we get the word out and get the fear? Because fear is a big thing, How do we get rid of the fear of the person, the first home owner, to decide to become a first home owner?
Well, we have been offering several home buyer seminars.
Sure.
Where the prospective buyers can come and they are free to ask all the questions that they want to, because I understand what it is, buyer's remorse and fear and the rest of it. And we are able to break down for the individuals the entire process.
Sure.
It makes you comfortable when you know what you are doing.
Okay.
For example, when someone goes out and you look at a property, and let's say you're guided by your realtor within certain price range, there are times within the contract where someone can, if there is remorse or something, then you can get away from it. You are not actually locked in immediately.
Sure.
And this is the reason why we love to have these first-time home buyer seminars, so that the first-time home buyers can be educated as to the process.
Should a first-time home buyer opt towards a fixed mortgage more than adjustable?
Oh, most certainly, because when you work with a fixed mortgage, you are able to budget. You
Sure.
know what's going to be happening for the next 30 years.
Yes.
That's important.
Okay, now let me ask you this right here. What would be the salary of someone today that's trying to buy a house, let's say, for $170,000?
I'm going to pass this over to Terry, the mortgage expert. He'll be able to answer you.
Usually, if a person's, the way we do it, and it really helps a person to do a simple calculation to determine what their income should be.
Sure.
And here's the formula.
Go ahead.
They take their gross income before taxes and they multiply that gross income by 43%. And that, along with all their monthly debt and their mortgage payment, cannot exceed that percentage, 43%.
Okay.
So, as an example, if a person is, let's say their gross monthly income is, well, let's say their gross monthly income is $3,000. So $3,000, $3,000 gross monthly income, $3,000 times 43%, that's $1,290
A month.
per month. So their mortgage payment, along with any debt that they have, should not exceed $1,290. So it's our job to work within that. It's particularly for the first-time home buyer.
Sure, sure.
Because we don't want them to be stretched beyond what's comfortable for them.
Okay.
And that's why, the fixed rate mortgage is good for them. We have them pay one payment, which is what they're accustomed to doing. When they pay their rent,
That's right.
they make one payment. So we make it easy for them so they can be successful by making sure that their property taxes, their homeowners insurance,
all wrapped up in one.
everything is wrapped up into one.
No separate.
Nothing
Okay.
separate. They're not accustomed to that.
Right. That could be a problem outside of the electric bill and things of that nature. And also, have you guys come across anyone that talked about this green energy in terms of? I had a guy call me the other day. He said that he could put solar panels on my house, which would he could put enough on it that would be like I have a renter upstairs that it would turn the meter back. You understand? Have that come across you, Dave, or whatever?
Yes, actually, the federal government has taken a stand. They want to let everyone know that they support the green initiative.
Sure.
And if a person plans ahead, the government, if they get an FHA loan, which is a federally insured loan, the government will actually give them up to $8,000 to help them toward implementing energy efficient heaters, solar panels, whatever that will make the house more energy efficient and use less energy.
Okay.
In fact, the multiple listing systems now, they are considering standardizing the green, that whole green
Yes.
affair, so that when someone lists a property for sale, you are able to find out what are the energy efficient methods that they have been using.
Sure. Okay. So, have you been selling any houses lately? Or?
Have been selling, and even in the difficult market. The thing is that depending on the township that you are selling in, there are lots of bank foreclosures.
Sure.
And this makes it really affordable for the first-time home buyer, because there are some townships in which property values have dropped by maybe 50%, 40%, 60% accordingly.
Okay.
So that picture an individual in today's market is able to purchase a property that would have been sold 3 years ago for $300,000,
Sure.
and they're able to get it in today's market at half that price.
Wow. Okay. All right. We want to talk also about you mentioned about living in the town and you get some kind of rebate or whatever. Now, what is that?
Live where you work.
Live where you work.
Yes, there's an agency that's governed by the state of New Jersey,
Yes.
and it's called MFA, Mortgage Finance Agency of New Jersey. And what they've done is they've formed partnerships with different cities and municipalities. And what they're offering the first-time buyer is if they are an employee, if they're an employee of any company in the city, and then here's a list of the cities that have joined so far. There's Asbury Park,
Good area.
Atlantic City,
Sure.
Bayonne, Belmar, Carteret, Cherry Hill, Edgewater Park, Elizabeth, Evesham, Glassboro, Jersey City,
Okay.
Keyport, Morristown, Neptune, Newark, New Brunswick, Old Bridge, Orange, Passaic, Patterson, Pemberton Township, Plainfield, Rahway, Trenton, Washington Township, and Woodbridge. So as you can see, there's a number of municipalities throughout New Jersey, north and south and central, that have signed up. And if they work for a company, let's take Plainfield as an example.
Okay.
If they work for any company in Plainfield and they purchase in the city of Plainfield, the state of New Jersey will give them 5% of the loan amount toward their purchase. And in every case, it will cover their down payment.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now, have you come across, David, anyone that has actually lived in the town, worked in the town where they live, and bought a house?
Oh yes, yes, it's happening right now. In fact, I do have a client right now who is purchasing work in Plainfield, working and purchasing in Plainfield.
Sure.
And they are very excited about that.
Okay, yes. So what is it, where are we at in terms of, you know how with the banks, the houses at one time was worth, let's say, $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people went in for that scam, I guess it was, that, and it's not me calling it because the government itself called it a scam. You know, hyperinflating their income so they can get these houses. Now they're losing the houses. Or just a lot of people have lost their jobs. All right. What do we do now that they are in going through this short sale and everything? Should the banks reconsider the loan or whatever? Or should, if they don't want to reconsider that house, should they opt them another house someplace? You see what I mean? You know, because we have, I know of a situation where the house was worth $400,000. They can't afford to pay it. The banks don't want to take any money for whatever they were giving them, and now they want to short sell. They want to sell a house for $150,000, but they won't allow them, the residents of the house, to buy the house for $150,000. What would be a method for them? Because you know, if someone coming by the house, they're out.
Well, there isn't much that we, like I as a realtor, or we as realtors can do about that, because there are certain systems that are set in place. The mortgage companies, for example, lots of the mortgages that are being done now are through the FHA product, and there are very strict guidelines in terms of credit, in terms of ratios, in terms of income. So the only way someone is able to purchase right now is if they follow the strict guidelines.
Yes, and in addition to that, you know, being a trusted advisor, we're all in our profession, Davis and I, real estate, and certainly in yours, as being a key figure in the community. People look to us to give them trusted advice.
Sure.
And what's happening is a lot of persons don't know. They hear every day about foreclosures. Other people are losing their houses.
Sure.
And some are under the impression that banks have an inexhaustible amount of money, just wheelbarrows of money that they can draw on endlessly. And that's simply a fallacy. There's no truth to that. Banks usually work on a pretty thin margin. So if you recall, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, a number of banks, every day you were hearing about banks that were closing their doors. So it's not that the banks have an inexhaustible amount of money that they can just, if the person owes $400,000, they can take $100,000 and just call it a day. That's not the case.
Sure.
No. Those losses have to be justified. And the government, again, has stepped in, and they're incenting banks now. They're saying, look, you have a moral obligation. If this person, if you can lower what they owe on this property, and you can restructure the loan for them so they can afford it, you have a moral obligation to do that. And even to incent them, the government will give them incentives so as to work with the person to help them keep their home.
Oh, okay. Well, in the case of where some people are actually sitting in their home, they're not paying the mortgage, okay, it's going to be a short sale. Someone comes along and buy it. What's as I asked you earlier today, what happened to those families? What happened to them? What's going on?
You know, unfortunately, a lot of folks have just gotten misinformation.
Sure.
And it's unfortunate because right here in New Jersey, you hear about people losing their homes, but the truth is the foreclosure process in the state of New Jersey takes approximately a year and a half.
Sure.
So there are some individuals who, based on their circumstances, and we're going to be honest and forthright, and some people just are just irresponsible.
Sure.
You hate to think that way, but there's some people who've just chosen to walk away from their responsibility.
Sure.
And they've stopped making mortgage payments. But even after they've not made payments on their obligation, for some unfortunate reasons, but unfortunate or not, if they've not made a mortgage payment for over a year, let's say 12 months, they've not made one mortgage payment.
Sure.
Now, it's a provision of this country that we live in that they can go to an attorney, a bankruptcy attorney, and that bankruptcy attorney will assess their situation. And even though they've not made payments for a year, they can file for a Chapter 13, which can help them restructure their debt and stop the foreclosure proceedings immediately.
Wow.
So it's really a lot of misinformation out there. And if persons knew this and they wanted to keep their homes, they have the ability to do it. And it's a provision of this country that we live in.
Have you guys come in contact with anyone that actually filed the chapter and was able to keep their homes?
Many such persons. And here's the beauty of it. Because it's a provision of this country, if a person files for a Chapter 13 bankruptcy and the government steps in and the courts step in and they say, you will keep your home, you, Mr. Creditor, credit card debt, we have nothing for you.
Yes.
You, Mr. Auto Loan, the monthly payment is $200. We're saying that you'll get $50 per month. And they let that person keep their home, and they appoint a trustee, and that trustee gets the mortgage payment every month. After 1 year, guess what? Under FHA guidelines,
Okay.
again, a loan that's insured by the federal government, if they've made their payments, their mortgage payments to the trustee faithfully every month, guess what? They're considered reestablished.
Wow.
And they can refinance their home and get themselves back on track.
Okay.
The court will give them permission to do that.
Well, we heard somewhere last year where the judge just got so tired of the banks and he just gave the home to the residents. Now, how is that? You know what I mean? He just said, I'm tired of it. You're not going to foreclose. The house is theirs.
Yes, I did hear that. I think that was out on Long Island somewhere.
So it was somewhere. Yeah.
And there's a lot of frustration.
Sure.
There's a lot of frustration around banks and the housing market and what they're doing. But every person's situation is a little different.
Sure.
And certainly the judge, within his jurisdiction, he can make a call like that. It could be overturned, by a higher court.
Sure.
But again, it does demonstrate that someone is listening to the outcries of the consumer.
Yes, that's very important.
Homeowners need to demonstrate a little higher level of responsibility.
Okay.
Because even in today's market where lots of people are going through difficult times, but people need to seek out the correct information.
Okay.
A lot of people.
And who would they contact for the correct
All right.
information?
There are the professionals. There are the real estate professionals
Okay.
like myself.
Sure.
There are the mortgage bankers. There are the real estate attorneys. There are the tax professionals. So there are several people that are usually available. And at our office, we can point in the direct individuals to certain such people, such professionals. Yeah.
Okay. And if someone wanted to want to contact you, how would they give them information?
Yes, they can contact me. Usually, my cell phone is the best way to contact me, and that number is 732-762-1888.
Okay.
Or you can call me toll free, 888-968-4700.
And what about you?
I am at ERA Reed Realty 908-769-0011. My direct extension is 111. And my cell number 908-482-1401. We are always here to help you.
Okay, with about 4 minutes left in the show, what in another year, what do you think we're gonna be with the houses, the housing thing? Are we gonna
I think
turn for
there's
the good or the bad or what?
I think there is going to be an improvement, definitely. I think more people than not have gotten the sense that our economy, the things that are closely tied to us, our houses. Remember the whole thing with the dot-com bubble when that happened. That had some drastic effect, but this is even deeper
Sure.
because it's connected to families, connected to our house where we live and our community and
Yeah,
what's
live
important to
someplace,
us.
right?
Yeah, so I think the message is getting out there that we all have a shared responsibility, and I think agencies on a government level and even on the local level will answer the call, and this is going to help our market.
Well, just let me throw this out there. None of us are economists. I guess you're about to close this too, right? What can we do to regenerate this economy? I mean, everything can't just be from the government, can it? What can we do?
Well, life is a cycle. You know, what has happened now,
Sure.
will it happen again? Yes, it will. What we are expected to do is to start by doing what we can. There are properties out there that the home buyers need, and they need to purchase now.
Sure.
The prices are right. If people would start purchasing houses, that would jumpstart the economy.
Okay, real fast. Remember you were saying about with the first-time home buyer, he has a month or something like that, or what mortgage was that?
Yes, the deadline to get the $8,000 tax credit.
There you go, the tax credit.
Yes, they would have to be under contract, have found a house, and put in an offer, and that offer had to be signed. So a fully signed contract between buyer and seller by April 30th. And then that loan has to close. They have to have the keys in their hands by June 30th.
Okay,
And that would make them eligible for this $8,000 tax credit.
from the government.
Right.
So this is the time.
This is
Yeah.
definitely the time to do it.
And even further, even for folks who are not first-time home buyers, the government is even incenting them. If they've owned their present residence for at least 5 years, and now they want to sell that or make that a rental property and buy another property, they get $6,500